Thank you so much, Barbara. We at UNC Charlotte, this team is very excited to share what we've been doing with Quality Matters with students in our program. To introduce ourselves, my name is Beth Oyarzun, and I'm the director of the Learning Design and Technology program at UNC Charlotte and the clinical assistant professor in the same program.
My name is Enoch Park. I'm the Quality Matters and Online Learning Specialist at Center for Teaching and Learning.
Hi everyone, I'm Liana Zona. I'm a Senior Program Manager with the Office of Distance Education.
Hi everybody, I'm Jasmine Bishop. I'm a graduate student at UNC Charlotte with the Learning Design and Technology program.
And this team has some objectives for today, and we really appreciate you hanging in all day on a Friday afternoon to come to this late afternoon presentation. But our objectives are to look at the QM evaluate the benefits of the QM for Student program, which is a relatively new program, discuss the preparation steps needed to implement this program if you're interested, and to start planning and preparing to do so if you're interested in doing that. A little bit about our program. It's a master's program on learning design and technology, and it's offered fully online. And we have 3 concentrations: school specialists, online learning and teaching, and training and development. We are implementing the Quality Matters for Students program into the online learning and teaching concentration, in which we offer a graduate certificate and a master's degree. And with that being said, we'd like to learn a little bit about who we have with us. And I've put this poll everywhere link in the chat if you could copy and paste it and participate in our poll. Looks like we have some faculty, some administrators, and some QM coordinators, so a variety of you in the audience. Thank you very much. No students. Jasmine and Leanna are only students today. I want to talk first about how the idea came to implement Quality Matters for Students in our program. As the director of the program, I field a lot of inquiries from potential students, and I got an email in August of 2018 about the interest in the online teaching and learning program, and they specifically asked if we were able to teach the Quality Matters rubric to students within the program because they had seen job announcements that were requiring that skill. And we are heavily involved in Quality Matters with our program. All of our courses are certified. We have 2 program level certifications, but I wasn't sure if we had the ability to teach it to the students. I knew we had at UNC Charlotte a license, and we had heavily implementation with the faculty, but I wasn't really sure if it was available to do this type of program. So I reached out to Enoch, who's with us today, and he's our QM coordinator, to ask if this was possible. And that led to some formation of teams. My first step in August, after I got that email, was to talk to Enoch and say, is this possible? Because I wasn't really sure. And we found out that there was a QM for student program. QM coaching is what it's called. So we met with the QM personnel to find out more about that program and what would it entail to implement it. With that information, we then went to the distance education office, which Leanna from Distance Ed is with us today, is going to be sharing some more information to see what our options were financially for students and for the program, and for if it could be feasible to implement it. From there, we went to a larger team that involved the instructor of the course, which also happens to be Enoch, that teaches the course as well, and myself, the distance education office, the QM personnel, to then plan how we were going to implement it from there once we got all the details straightened out. And we were aiming to implement in the fall of this past year. And I'm going to turn it over now to this fabulous team, starting with Leanna, to give you some more information.
Sure. Thank you so much. So, as I mentioned earlier, I work for the Office of Distance Education at UNC Charlotte. And so, what we really do is partner with our academic partners that are delivering online programs to assist them with marketing, recruitment, and quality assurance of our online programs. And so, we were very excited when we were approached with this idea. We wanted to talk a little bit about what the cost could look like. So, our office does have some financial resources that we can use to support recruitment for our academic partners. And then we wanted to also just talk a little bit about how it would align with our distance education mission of providing quality online experiences for students. And the Learning Design and Technology program is one of our greatest partners in doing that. And so we were excited to talk a little bit about this and how it could be implemented. So in terms of resource and opportunity, some of those first meetings involve some conversations about some of these items. So in terms of budget, we wanted to really talk through what the cost would be for students, what cost could students incur, what cost would the university incur with adopting this. We also wanted to talk a little bit about faculty support. So as mentioned, who would be the faculty? And we're really grateful to have Enoch here today to talk about his implementation. But would the faculty be supported in this? Would they have the time and the ability to adopt this into their courses? We also talked through program alignment. So which course would ultimately be chosen to use this QM for Students model in? And then also how would the QM for Students be introduced to students? So would it be a requirement of the course that students participate? And then also one of the final things we wanted to talk about was the recruitment side of things. So this idea, as Beth mentioned, was born from a prospective student who said, hey, this would be really awesome if you guys had this. I would get so much out of it for my career. And so we wanted to really take that and run with it. And we felt like adopting this could really make waves in terms of our recruitment and how we market for the program. So on the right screen there, oh, sorry. Just some of the questions that we talked about. What costs would students incur? How might we pay for the yearly fee? So what budget could that come from, and could the university support that? Which courses would be best to integrate this with, and how could we integrate it? And then how could we use this for recruitment? Those are just some of the questions that we ultimately wanted to discuss when getting into those initial meetings and sort of brainstorming. So ultimately, we decided that this would be something that we absolutely could support and wanted to support. And so this is what the financial breakdown looked like. From the university perspective, we determined that the university could support the QM for Student license. This is a $300 per campus per year fee. And so what the fee covers is the supplemental subscription. It also includes a subscription to the QM coaching certification course, and Enoch will talk a little bit about that, but we do have both Enoch and Beth as certified coaches through that. And the $300 per campus per year also included the code for students to purchase the subscription themselves. And then from the student perspective, we determined that the students would be responsible for the student membership fee, which is $75 per student per year. And the program worked with our awesome library partners on campus to negotiate open educational resources so that we could substitute book costs and really make this adaptation the most cost effective for students. And so students would only be responsible for that $75 per year fee. And if they wanted to, they could participate in the peer review certification and pay an extra $200 to have that added level of certification to sort of add to their professional knowledge. And now I'll pass it over to Enoch to talk a little bit about our QM coach certification and the actual process of adaptation.
Thank you, Rihanna. As the program was approved and implemented, we have started by getting the faculty members to be certified to serve as QM coaches. The campus license includes 1 free seat per year for the QM coach certification course, and additional faculty can take the workshop at $300. Both Beth and I have completed the QM Coach Certification course in 2019 to start the program. Certified coaches get access to the QM Coaches Huddle, a resource site for the coaches to find resources and ask questions. Next. And once the faculty is certified as a QM coach, a QM will send out information on student subscription code. Using the subscription code, students will join as student subscribers and receive access to the QM Students module. Students have access to MyQM and CRMS on their account, where they can access the rubric that they have selected to use. Students will also complete the QM for Students module and receive a certificate of completion. During the coach certification course, coaches overview the exact module and the same content that the students will see. So the coaches will know the module contents and are able to answer any questions. Next. Since our LDT program has students who have various professional backgrounds and different goals, such as those who want to become a college faculty, superintendent of a public school district, professional training in corporate or government sectors, instructional designers in K-12 or higher education, we found a unique challenge to guide students for their QM subscription, selection of appropriate rubrics, and additional QM training opportunities such as APPQMR or IYOC. A good number of our students who are faculty or staff members from the UNC system institutions or North Carolina community colleges can access the full QM benefits as both systems have consortium subscription. Also, North Carolina Virtual High School and North Carolina School of Science and Math are QM subscribers, and our students who work for the schools can use the institutional subscription. Also, while students have subscriptions through their institution, they may be interested in developing and teaching courses that are different from their subscription. For example, we have K-12 school principals or instructional technologists who are developing professional development courses for the teachers at their school or in their district. Also, college staff members who want to develop professional development courses. So in order to have access and training for the rubric standards other than their institution provides, some students choose to add QM for Students subscription on top of their institutional subscription. Based on their interest, students want to take more QM training, such as APPQMR or IYOC, either through QM for Students special discount session, regular APPQMR workshops online or on campus through their institution, or APPQMR workshop through QM, especially if they want to take an APPQMR on a different rubric standards. Next, we can show as students subscribe through QM per Students program, the campus QMC can check the subscription status, including the subscription details. So you can check how many students, when they joined, and their expiration date, and their selected rubric standards. Next. So we have an integrated QM for students in our LDT course titled Design, Development, and Evaluation of Online Learning Systems. In this course, students survey both the theoretical and practical perspectives of online learning systems and apply the principles as they develop a project course. For the course development project, students take the lead as course designer, and the instructor provides consultation and coaching for quality improvement of the sample course using the QM standards. And this is the reason why we chose to integrate QM for students in this course. Next. In our course, the course development process follows a typical form of a design thinking process, which allows the students to focus on the learner and learning objectives so they can build the course contents and activities upon the foundation. A typical design thinking process could be applied in the form of empathy, which is learning about the audience, or in our case, the target learners. Define and focus the question based on the insight from the empathy stage. Ideate, brainstorm, and coming up with the appropriate course content. Prototype, so now students build a representation of sample course contents and structure, and test or review the prototype course and gather feedback to revise. Following the design thinking process helps students to focus on their target learners and avoid the developer's block, finding trouble in aligning the course components. Next. For the course development project, students are guided to work on 6 parts over the semester. The development process introduces the backward design process, and each step applies the QM standards into practice, as well as the concept of course alignment and helpful recommendations. As a result, students will be guided to remember, understand, apply the QM standards in their course development, and continue to analyze and evaluate their own and peers' courses to finally create an effective online course. In the next section of today's presentation, Jasmine, who is one of our LDT Stellar students, will share her experience in developing her course and how the QM standards and principles helped her through the process.
Hi, everybody. So I took Design Development and Evaluation of Online Learning Systems in fall of 2019. While learning the fundamentals of effective online teaching and learning, I also needed to design a course for my final project that Enoch was talking about. So integrated into my curriculum was the QM for Students program, and it was designed to help, or it was there to help us design our course. So having worked within the Department of Continuing Education, which focused on adult learners, I decided to create a non-credit course and selected the CPE rubric to utilize. So signing up for QM was a pretty straightforward process. I was able to create an account that was not affiliated with my university. So this is where I was able to get that CPE rubric through my personal email, but my university account had the higher education rubric. So one of my first classroom assignments was to complete the QM for Students introductory module. So I got classroom credit for this, but I also received that certification of completion from QM. I'll be honest, I immediately put it on LinkedIn. So signing up also gave me access to that CPE rubric, which I used as a trusted guide as I developed my course, as well as the QM self-reveal tool, which I use for evaluations. So before I explain how I developed my course, I'll pose the question: what program at your institution do you think would benefit most from the QM for Students program?
And this is another poll question if you want to use the same link that's in the chat. I think there's a delay on the slides progressing. There was one that said graduate and professional in the chat that they didn't have the link. So it looks like that's the largest group.
Awesome, thank you. So being tasked to design my course, I wanted to break out of my comfort zone, which comes from a technical background. I'm an applications developer. I also wanted to include a passion for mine, which is gamification. So I chose to focus on soft skill building through experiential learning, taking inspiration from tabletop games such as Dungeons and Dragons. And this is how I came to develop Perception Check, Understanding and Developing Skills through RPGs. So while looking over each week's modules and assignments for designing my course, I found myself seeing similarities between what is known as the Agile process, or the Agile method of software development, which is analysis, design, coding, and testing, and how the course design seemed to progress. This was kind of a light bulb moment for me, especially if I had a conversation with Enoch, that this was something I could do. I realized it was not just making separate elements that I would cram together at the end of the semester and call it a course. Instead, this was an iterative process that would allow for continuous improvement of that course as I developed it. By using this process paired with the QMCP rubric, I would actually be able to create a course of consistent quality. So this process kicked off with my analysis of learners, outcomes, and competencies. So as I was developing my analysis, I was able to start outlining what I wanted to teach, who my learners would be, what technology would be needed, and the overall course goals. I used the QM rubric to kind of explore getting outside that comfort zone again, explore new technology that wasn't already available, such as Twitch for live streaming, while remaining consistent with the standards and developing a presentation style that would continue to meet those standards.
So in this phase, Jasmine started by reflecting on the target learners and their interest. Since she was targeting adult learners in a continuing education setup, she came up with the concept of campaign as a learning experience and selected CPE rubric, which provided guidelines and considerations for the CPE environment. Based on the learner analysis, Jasmine prepared an initial set of course goals, course learning objectives, and module learning objectives. Using the QM rubric standards and annotation, the instructor reviewed the clarity and measurability of the learning objectives and requested her to elaborate them.
So the next part of that process was creating design assessments, strategies, materials, and activities. This is where I worked on my alignment between objectives, my assessments, and those instructional materials I plan to use in my course. I struggled with this originally. My main trouble came from my lack of understanding surrounding relationships between objectives. So after some additional coaching, I went back to my roots and created a flowchart to develop those relationships and how they would look. So this is an example of the first module I decided to build out, called Building Character. Once I did that, I was able to properly map out the course, including cleaning up some objectives, removing unnecessary items, noting where I needed to shore up and develop some new materials or get some additional assessments built in.
So as you can see in this phase, Jasmine started developing course materials, activities, and assessments based on the learning objectives. Developing a set of course contents, activities, and assessments in alignment with the learning objective was the challenge, and at the same time, the key for moving forward. Thanks to Jasmine's background in computer software development and system analysis, she developed a topical flowchart for each module. Her flowchart helps visualize the course alignment, where she could clearly and easily see what components are aligned and if any of the core components was missing. This is a phase where many students developers usually find most trouble to translate the idea of the learning objectives into concrete course components, especially selecting the right materials and activities to provide scaffolding for the learners and accurately assess their achievement of the stated learning objectives. Using the QM rubric standards and annotations, the instructor reviewed the alignment of the core course components and coached her to strengthen the alignment.
So now it was time for me to create my syllabus. Using that newly developed course map and the QM rubric as my references, I decided to create a mobile responsive website to use for my syllabus. I chose to go down this route because it would allow my learners access to what was needed, so the assignments, things like that, the syllabus in general, outside of an LMS. In my particular case, I'd be using Canvas. I would also have the ability to build it with ADA compliance in mind. And it also offered a format in which I could express my personality and what the tone of the course would be. So it's exciting, it's fun, it's dynamic. Just a general PDF couldn't do that for me.
So in this phase, Jasmine started building the conceptual prototype of the course and reflected on the course as a whole. Jasmine considered her syllabus as the synopsis of the whole course and checked if the syllabus adequately summarizes and presents the conceptual structure of the course. With the initial development of learning objectives and core course components to build the structural framework of the course, Jasmine was able to check what tools, technologies, academic and student support, and accessibility support will be needed by her learners and provision the guidelines and resources here. In fact, the syllabus now serves as a guidebook to help students succeed in a course, and she was able to reflect her unique personal touch into the course. So before start building the course, I have emphasized fine-tuning the course alignment and encouraged her to take a deeper look into the alignment. The coaching was focused on her keeping both the trees and forest in her mind and closing the gap in alignment, as she can conceptualize the entire course as well as the supporting components at the same time.
So with Enoch's insight and my syllabus complete, I was able to start really refining the rest of that course design. And being so, I was tasked with the initial development of a module in my course. Once more, having selected Canvas, I leaned heavily on these remaps, course maps, as to how I was going to translate what was designed into actual modules for my learners to complete. So I created a format which consisted of stating what each module's overview would cover, objectives alongside an introductory video with auto-generated closed captioning due to time limitations. Where this helped me meet standards, I still needed my first module to represent what I was trying to accomplish with those learners. It was basically to help transform themselves in many more ways than one. So for the presentation, I've included my introductory module video explaining what learners needed to complete to accomplish this.
Welcome everybody to Module 1, Building Character, Understanding Your Strengths, Weaknesses, and Communication Style. The learning objective for this module is to identify your personal strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats by performing a SWOT analysis. Before diving right in and trying to tackle your personal SWOT analysis, make sure you watch the video and do the reading on the subject. It's very important you do this right to make sure you get the most out of the subject matter. For the module, your SWOT analysis via the discussion form. Be sure to pay attention to the discussion rubric and give helpful advice to your classmates and share your experiences. The final learning objective for this module is to analyze your personality type and with it, your communication style. So find a comfy place, get relaxed, maybe grab a cookie, and settle in for the quiz. Be as truthful as possible. The goal is to get as close as possible to who you really are. Once you've completed the quiz, you'll be issued a type, a code, a role, and a strategy. Your personality type shows what guides your attitudes and actions in life. The letters in your type code refer to your dominant traits. Your role determines your goals, interests, and preferred activities, and your strategy determines how you approach everyday situations and achieve your goals. Now that you've taken your quiz and have your results, learn more about your possible personality type on the 16 Personalities website. It includes strengths and weaknesses, workplace habits, career paths, and other additional insights. Now it's time to design your character. You can do this using the results of your personal SWOT you did earlier in the module, teamed with the results of your personality quiz. See you next time in Module 2.
My learners would experience prior to actually doing any of the work that was required of them. So once that was done, SWOT analysis in hand, personality test complete, learners were going to be able to use the chart on the left here, the personality type to class conversion tool that I kind of built myself, I'll be honest, that takes the 16 personalities quiz and helps translate into an archetype in a typical RPG. From there, they would be able to generate a character through the pre-gen builder here and build out their character's history, basically with their SWOT analysis. Plugging in my own information into the character builder, turns out I am a cleric who refuses to go first, wise beyond my years, smart but not a genius. Oh yeah, a little bit clumsy, but I have a passion for doing what's right. So with that, I'll pose the question, without taking a massive personality test, what character archetype do you think you would be? And once more, you'll use the same link in the poll if possible.
Yes, it's still there in the chat.
Okay. All right, we've got some clerics, some spellcasters like a wizard. Nice. So with module 1 being the first to help establish the way, I was going to go ahead and present my learning materials, including outlining what the learners would do. It also helped establish the characters my learners were going to be using to join the campaign, so to speak. So like the character you've selected here, that is your personality, let's say, that you would be carrying through in order to help develop soft skills in the future. They'd be doing this by joining adventuring parties, which are basically small groups built around archetypes that better help them and have a more dynamic, experience than just picking their friends, let's say. So working with Enoch on some additional coaching, I received that feedback to help add additional items and then tweak some more concepts in order to start building out the rest of my modules. So those started with them each getting introductory pages before moving into the rest of learning materials and assignments as I built them out in the first. This also included testing out some new technology and features, such as the Twitch live streaming, to see if it was an actual workable concept before just trying to deploy something. Once I finished up all my modules, I created a course wrap-up in order to close out the course with a single video, thanking my students and letting them know I was still available if they needed additional help, and a survey would be coming to them on course completion.
So as you can tell, with the clear plan, Jasmine started initial course development and checking and testing her initial developments against the intended learning objectives that are suited to the learners and the purpose of the course. As a result of this holistic review for the course alignment, Jasmine focused on fine-tuning the course and module learning objectives. Starting from 2 course goals, she has developed 5 course learning objectives and revised 1 course objectives during the development process. Also, from the initial set of 16 module learning objectives, she has removed 3 initial objectives to narrow down to 13 that are clear and measurable, and revise 2 additional objectives to increase the alignment. This way, she has a solid reference to develop and build her course and test the course components for effectiveness. Her skills in the agile development process also helped her to work on the typical development, analysis, revision, and test cycle too.
So with my development of the course complete, I used the QM self-review tool to complete assessment. It helped me document standards that I met and why I met them. It also assisted me in identifying standards that I missed, including simple mistakes, like forgetting to add or removing a link between my syllabus. Once I finished this, I was able to quickly go back and update my course, fix these missing items or confusing items in order to improve the overall quality and take it a step further.
The slide was frozen.
Yep.
Jasmine, oh, there it comes.
Oh, there it comes.
Yeah.
Little bit of delay.
Yeah, course didn't go black, don't worry. Yeah, so finally, using the QM standard, yes, one solid common shared standard, Jasmine was able to conduct a self-review herself and receive review feedback from her peer students and from the instructor. In this way, Jasmine was able to apply her own metacognitive learning through self-review process, participate in a collaborative, constructive learning experience, as well as receive full feedback from the faculty who is an experienced QM reviewer. I'm a master reviewer and QM coach as well. So all using and referencing the same standard.
So in closing for me, the QM for Student program provided me a whole new approach for designing courses, more specifically quality courses that were well aligned. It also provided me a certificate that opened me up to new positions and opportunities that I would have originally never applied for, just for the sheer fact that said quality matters. The program has also established a really good foundation for me to build for future QM roles and additional professional development, including becoming QM certified course reviewer. So for me, it would be starting with non-credit courses. So I'd like to say thank you for listening to my experience, and I'll go ahead and pass it back to Beth.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. And if any of you are interested in hiring Jasmine, she'll be graduating in December because she's amazing. So moving forward for our program, I'd like to thank this team. It was from idea to inception to implementation, the team has been fantastic. Couldn't have asked for anything better. But we do want to continue the program. We have our second group of students finishing this semester. They just turned in their courses this week, and I'm very excited to get in there and look at them. But we want to highlight this program as part of our promotion, like Leanna said. To that end, we're going to put it on our flyer and our website and use it for conversational recruitment and presentations like this. DE has graciously continued that $300 yearly support, and we want to continue to promote practical knowledge and higher order thinking in our program and good design of quality, effective online courses. And we like the idea that students are able to get credentials to use as part of hiring and set them up, like Jasmine just said, foundation for their future to do more. Like I said, the course is just one semester, but their QM membership, their student membership is an entire year. So those that started their membership in January, if they are taking a summer course, they could take that time to take more QM courses if they opt into it. And with that, we would like to conclude. We have about 9 more minutes. And ask if there are any questions, and this is our contact information. We'd be happy to talk further about this program. Thank you very much.
Thank all of you. It was wonderful to hear from Jasmine about her experience. So that was a real treat for me, and I'm sure for all the attendees. I'm just going to mention that I popped a session survey link and also a conference survey link into the chat. While you're thinking of questions, I also will put in the link to our town hall meeting, which is going to start at 4:30 Eastern. So I want to thank all of you for presenting and for attending.
Thank you very much. It was great to share my experience, and I have to say thank you to this amazing team that even allowed this to happen for me to learn Quality Matters while getting my master's degree.
I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.